To start off, I'm going to base out the entire jack-o'-lantern and the arms. And I'm going to be painting these separately, but I'm going to base all of these pieces out in a black paint and primer. This is a flat black, so no satin finish, no gloss finish, just a flat black like house paint. So that's the first step. I'm going to just go ahead and start painting the entire jack-o'-lantern and the hands and the arms in this flat black paint and primer mix. I use paint and primer mix because it adds a little bit more protection against water. But I'll be getting into how to make your paper mache outdoor pieces of art more water resistant towards the end of this tutorial on painting. So don't worry about that. But all right, my jack-o'-lantern and my arms and hands are dry. And now I'm going to actually start getting into the painting. And as you can see, I have an array of different shades of orange, a few different shades of yellows, and some shades of brown. And then I have black and I have white. I'm going to initially start out dry brushing on a mixture of orange paint and nutmeg brown paint. This is cheap apple barrel matte pumpkin orange acrylic paint. All the paints that I'm using are going to be matte and they're going to be acrylic. And I have a variety of different brands here, from very cheap to a little bit more high-end. But for jack-o'-lanterns, honestly, you could use cheap paint. This paint is like super watery. Look at that. No idea why. I think the painter of Scarecrow Joe's studio probably added water to that. I don't generally do the majority of the painting for the studio. Yvette does the majority of the painting for the studio. So this is going to be interesting for you all. That's pretty dark. Let me add a little bit more orange. Interesting in the fact that I don't do a lot of the painting. I don't consider myself to be the greatest painter in the world. All right, I have that paint in there. I think that's a pretty good start. What I'm going to start doing is in some of these recessed areas up there, I'm going to go in a little heavier with the paint. And those of you who are actual painters and you're good at it, you know that when paint dries, the color is different than the color that goes on when it's wet. So I'm just going in the stem area here. And then just kind of like, I'm going to go in and I'm not covering, starting on the back. I'm not like covering all, you know, I'm leaving some of the black come through. So kind of haphazardly. I'm leaving the ridges for now. I might sound like I have a plan, but to be honest with you, the majority of the time when I'm painting, I don't really have a plan. I just kind of go with it and see where it takes me. The cool thing about painting is that if you don't like it, you can always start over. I know that's kind of a drag, but that's the truth though. You can always start over. I have that pumpkin orange and nutmeg brown mixture of paint on the jack-o'-lantern. These raised areas I lightly dry brushed with the same color. And as you could see, as it's drying already, you could see that it's going to dry darker than the paint that's on there that's wet. I didn't really get a whole lot of paint on these wood grain branch things that I sculpted on in here, where the hands are going to be inserted, or the arms are going to be inserted. Because for that, I'm going to go in with something darker at first. So I'm going to use a burnt umber. And I'm using some cheap 1-inch chip brushes just for the initial painting. And then once I get into more of the details, I'll switch to some actual better brushes. But for the initial painting, I'm just using these cheap brushes. The only downfall of using these cheap chip brushes that you get at the hardware store for like 75 cents each or something like that, I get packs of them off of Amazon, 50 of them at a time, because we use a lot of them here. But the only downfall is that they shed. So as you're using them, especially when they're brand new, the bristles, once you're painting, the bristles start coming off onto your sculpture or whatever it is that you're painting. For this, that's not that big of a deal. Unless they're super prominent, I'll pick them off. But if they're not, I tend to just leave them on there. So moving on with the burnt umber, I have can't really see, but I have a piece of cardboard. And I'm just going to go ahead, squirt on a little of the burnt umber. And with a clean chip brush, I'm just going to go in and hit, kind of dab all of those areas. I want them to be a different color than the pumpkin so that they stand out as like a tree branch or tree bark situation. I'm not concerned if I'm getting some of this paint onto the surface of the pumpkin itself. That's fine. It's all going to blend together. My style of painting is chaos. I'm a chaos painter. So just wanted to give you a little bit of a closer look at this here. So just I dabbed on and kind of went around, so it's starting to blend in with the other paint. And I made sure that the inside part here, I got paint on there too. So that's how that side looks like, or what it looks like right now. Here's the other side. That gives it kind of a cool little gradient type of effect, where one color kind of blends into another color. For the stem up here, I'm going to go straight in off the bat with some nutmeg brown. And I'm just going to go in, and again, I'm just sort of dabbing. My intention is not to cover up all the black. I do want some of the black, especially in the recessed areas, to kind of stay a more black tone or coloration to it. All right, while I'm waiting for everything on here to dry, and by the way, I did paint the bottom of the pumpkin. But while I'm waiting for all of this to dry, because I don't want to keep adding paint and have it get super, super muddy, the arms here, I'm going to base out the same way as I did these side areas where the tree branch texture has been sculpted. And that was burnt umber acrylic paint. Again, just sort of dabbing. So I'm going to do that on both of them. And then I'm going to come back after these dry and start putting on some other layers, colors of browns. You know what? Before I go any further, and before I forget to mention it, inside every single one of my hollow jack-o'-lantern sculptures, I take a can of high gloss orange enamel spray paint, and I spray paint the insides for two reasons. Number one, it gives it a more orange, kind of a pumpkin glow when you put an LED light inside of it. And number two, the orange enamel paint helps to protect the inside of it from moisture. So that's what I do with the insides. This one was already painted orange inside, so I'm not worrying about that, but that's just a reference to let you guys know what I do on the inside as far as paint. All right, this is dry. Check that out. The arms are dry too. Check them out. Give you a closer look. Oh, too close. Anyway, How many of you guys out there are home haunters? Because I just want to give a shout out to a new subscriber who commented on the last section of this tutorial. His name is Brian. He's in Wisconsin. If you're watching this, Brian, hello. He's a home haunter, and one of the comments that he made was that he's been home haunting for many years, and over the years some of his props are in disrepair and some of them need to be replaced. So if you can make your own stuff, especially if you're a home haunter, because that gets very expensive. If you can make your own stuff, you're saving yourself a lot of money. If you're into the animatronics and all that kind of stuff that you get, the big ones from like Home Depot and Spirit Halloween, whatever, man, that stuff gets real expensive. So if you make your own stuff, you're saving yourself a whole heck of a lot of money. But anyway, hey Brian, and to all the new subscribers out there, thank you for subscribing, thank you for supporting the channel, and all of the subscribers that have been watching my channel for years and years and years. Thank you all very much. It means a lot to us, our little art studio here. Thanks, guys. All right, what was I doing? Oh yeah, painting. Okay, I think next step here on the jack-o'-lantern, I'm gonna go in with a little bit of burnt sienna acrylic paint. So I have that on my little piece of cardboard off the side here, and I have a new or clean chip brush, and I think I'm going to start on the back just in case this looks horrible. I'm going to just go in the center, and again I'm just kind of dabbing, just going to do the center areas and down underneath, even though no one really sees the bottom or the underneath areas. I'm still painting those areas. So going back to home haunts, I do not have a home haunt. I've always wanted to have a home haunt, but I've never really actually done my own. I have volunteered many years ago to help out with a home haunt. It was part of a fundraiser, and it was very small. And man, I'll tell you, the amount of work, time, and effort that goes into even a small haunt like that is just, I mean, it's insane. It's pure insanity. So I have a ton of respect for all of you out there who do home haunts, because I love them. And every time that I go to haunted attractions, and I'm not even talking about, the professional ones that have all the cool stuff, because there are home haunters out there that are serious about it, and they have really cool stuff. Their setup is really elaborate, and they put a lot of time and energy into it. And sometimes it's just one night, Halloween night, just to have people come through and be scared. And I mean, you're a special group of people, I'll tell you that. You really are. To put that much effort and energy into something for just, one night, maybe a weekend. Some of you, I know, some home haunters, they do little fundraisers as well. Maybe like a canned food drive where they, collect donations as a fundraiser for, specific causes, which I think is great. It's awesome. And for those of you out there who do have your own haunts, please let me know in the comment section of this portion of the tutorial here. If you have a Facebook page, Instagram, if you have a YouTube channel, let us know. Let us know in the comments, and then in my next tutorial, I'll give a shout out to you, and hopefully get you some more subscribers, some more followers. We get the word out on your on your home haunt or even your professional haunt venture. All right, I have in these, the more recessed areas, I love the way that color, this is a, what is it? Burnt sienna. I love the way that color looks so far, but again, I know that once it dries, it's going to look different when it dries. So it looks pretty good. I think what I want to do, I want to lightly, very lightly in the raised areas, just hit it a little bit. Like just kind of in the center with this same paint, burnt sienna. I'll go down the ridges just a little bit. I want these ridges, the stuff that is like more pronounced and not as recessed, they're going to be a little bit brighter, I think. I think that's how it's going to turn out. We'll see. Now, painting jack-o'-lanterns, your choices of your variation in color really depends on the sculpture. You know, if you're painting a sculpture that has like a happy jack-o'-lantern face, you know, like for kids, something that kids would enjoy, you know, more than likely you're going to be painting them a brighter oranges and yellows and things like that. But for something like this, where he's kind of menacing looking, I want him to be a little darker, a little bit more moody. So it really depends. All of that really just depends on the type of sculpture and the look that you're going for. Right, I think that's looking pretty good. I like it so far. So let's see if I can screw it up. I'm going to go in with an orange red acrylic paint. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry brush some of the raised areas and see how that looks. I'm not going to use a clean dry brush. Well, there is some paint on here, so it's not completely dry. This is the paintbrush that I was just using that has the burnt sienna on it, but it's very dry. There's like no, I mean, you can't get any paint off of it. So on my little piece of cardboard over here, I have some of that orange, orange red paint is what it's called. And I'm going to dry brush. So those of you who are not familiar with dry brushing, get a little bit of the whatever color you're using, and then you really want to just dab it off. So I'm going to dab like most of it off. I'm using a little shop towel. You use paper towel or a rag, whatever. And let me start on the back. And I just want to kind of go in and hit these raised areas with just a little bit of that, what is it called again? Orange red, for goodness sakes. I put another little light on him so maybe you could see it a little bit better, but I like that. He's certainly dark and moody. I might have to brighten him up just a little bit, and I will. I'm going to apply some other variations of orange and a little bit of yellow in some of the raised areas. The stem I'm probably going to do last, but while I'm waiting for all that other stuff to dry, I'm going to go ahead and start adding more color to these side areas and then also on my hand. So I'm going to start on the side areas, and I'm going in over that dark color, and I'm going to dry brush. This is a raw sienna acrylic paint with a clean paintbrush. And again, I'm gonna dry brush, so I'm knocking off most of it. I just want to go in and see how that's gonna look. Okay, so I actually decided that I was going to go in with the color of raw sienna, and I hit the stem with it. That stem, it's still wet, and that color that I dry brushed over onto the hands and the arms here, that's the same color, and this is dry. All right, so I'm going to carry on and with some more orange at this point on the pumpkin itself, doing a little bit more dry brushing. This is, so that first orange was a orange red, and this one is just orange. I don't think there's going to be much of a difference, but we'll see once it dries. And I'm going to come in just a little bit tighter around these areas, so it comes in just a little bit in the recessed areas too. I wanted this pumpkin, this jack-o'-lantern, to be dark and moody, but I also want the textures to be seen. And the thing about having dark paints, textures kind of fade a little bit. You don't really get to see them as much as if you're using lighter paints. So by putting in a little bit of a lighter paints in some of these areas, I'm going to hit the raised areas more, but I am going to come in a little bit over into the recessed areas. All right, I have the orange on there, and some of it's already starting to dry, and it's not going to be very bright. So I'm going to let that dry completely and then revisit that. I'm going to plow on through with the rest of this painting, and you're going to see me bouncing back and forth from the hands and the arms, the stem, to the pumpkin or the jack-o'-lantern itself. The next color that I'm going to be using for the stem, the branch areas on the jack-o'-lantern where the arms are inserted, and then the arms and hands, is a coffee color. And this is another matte acrylic. So I'm just going to go ahead and plow through this. When I do change colors, I will show you like this what colors they are. So here we go. Now I know what you were thinking when you saw me bust out that yellow paint there. Chaos Painter is about to screw this whole thing up, but look at it. Look at it. I think it looks pretty freaking good. Of course, it's still a little wet, so it's gonna change. The colors are gonna change. But you know what? I think I might need a more professional opinion on this. Hey, Yvette! Can you come down here and look at this? She's coming. It'll take her an hour to get down here, but she's coming. She said yeah, she's on her way. I hear footsteps. Nothing's wrong. I just want you to look at the paint on this.
Ooh.
Yeah?
Yes. Yes. Like, you want my opinion? If you wanted to push it just a little bit lighter, like right here and right here and right here and right here, like the next lighter color. But I mean, it doesn't need it. Awesome.
I'm filming. You can't cuss. I'll bleep it out.
Me?
Yeah, I'll bleep it out. I'll bleep it out. You're not on camera, just your voice. All right, you heard the pro, guys.
Oh my goodness.
I'm almost there. I'm almost there. All right, so you guys heard the pro. So I'm going to let this dry completely, and then I'm going to do what Yvette said and just highlight a little bit in certain areas with more of the yellow. And then probably going to call the jack-o'-lantern portion of this done. But while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to go and take a nap. No, I'm kidding. I'm going to continue on with the stem and the hands. All right, everyone. The paint is done. I gotta call it done. Dry brushing. I really love the way that the dry brushing on of the last color here, linen. And this is Folk Art brand matte acrylic, and the color is linen. So it makes it look like old driftwood. So that's pretty cool. And then I couldn't help myself. I had to go in with some more of that burnt sienna and just do the fingernails a little bit, hit the fingernails in there. And then I decided it would be pretty cool to kind of put highlights in the stem with that same color as well. And I did put the linen color highlights over the raised areas on the stem. But I'm pleased with this. I think the paint came out pretty good. Let me know what you think in the comments. One last thing that I do need to do before I clean up all of this crap here. I need to go out and spray him with a polyurethane. There's two different kinds that I tend to use. There is this brand here. This is Minwax Helmsman Spar Urethane. This is a clear satin, and it protects against sunlight, rain and moisture, and temperature changes. And then if you didn't want something that's a satin or any kind of gloss finish on your sculptures, instead of going with the clear satin, you can go with, this is a pretty good product too. This is Rust-Oleum Clear, and this is matte. So it also seals, protects, revitalizes, whatever that means. I don't think he's going to be revitalized. But anyway, it's going to protect as well. So either one, get a spar urethane, something that's going to protect anything that protects wood, you can use on paper mache. So give it a good spraying. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take them outside. I'm going to spray them. And then I'm going to let it completely dry. And then I'm going to spray it again. And I'm also going to spray the inside of the jack-o'-lantern too. This is basically how I'm not going to say waterproof, okay? But I will say that this is how I make my paper mache sculptures more water resistant. I've never really had a problem. But then again, I don't let them sit out in pouring down rain either. If I know it's going to rain, I keep an eye on the forecast and I'll bring them in, or I'll cover everything so that they don't get drenched. But on that note, I do have a follow-up video coming up on how I'm going to actually kind of reconstruct the pillar that the original sculpture here sat on. When I created the original Crop Keeper jack-o'-lantern, I also created a pedestal that resembled a tree. And it also had some branches coming out. Looking back on that, there is no way on earth that I would feel good about putting my brand new, remodeled, renovated Crop Keeper jack-o'-lantern on top of something that just doesn't look great. So that's coming up in the next segment, where I'm going to show you guys what I'm going to do to make that even better. So if you're interested, stick around for that one. That's going to be coming up pretty soon. But that's a wrap on this one. As always, I thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.